In the early 2000s, Boeing promised Japan the future of flight, a jet built just for them. It was called the Boeing 787-3, a wide-body aircraft designed for short Japanese routes, merging efficiency with capacity like nothing before it. ANA and JAL ordered dozens, excited to replace aging domestic fleets. But as the Dreamliner program fell behind schedule and costs spiraled, the 787-3 quietly vanished. For many outside Japan, few even noticed. Yet inside Boeing's most loyal market, it felt like betrayal. One that would change the balance of power between Boeing and Airbus forever. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Japan was central to Boeing's global strategy. For decades, Japanese companies like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and Kawasaki had supplied vital components, from fuselage sections to wings, for nearly every Boeing jet. The relationship wasn't just industrial, it was strategic and deeply personal. When Boeing began developing its new Dreamliner, the 787, Japan was not just a customer, but a partner. The 787-3 was born out of this partnership. Japan's domestic air network is unique, short routes between major cities like Tokyo, Osaka, and Sapporo, but with extremely high passenger demand. ANA and JAL needed something powerful yet efficient, an aircraft that could handle 300 passengers on 400-mile hops, operating from airports with tight gate space. Boeing saw an opportunity to tailor the Dreamliner into a regional powerhouse. Shorter wingspan, lighter structure, and lower range, but perfect for Japan's conditions. The idea excited Japan's aviation industry. ANA became the 787 launch customer in 2004, with JAL following soon after. Together, they ordered 50 Boeing 787s, including dozens of the specialized 787-3 variant. It was supposed to be the ultimate symbol of Boeing's loyalty, a jet built not for the world, but for one nation. The 787 program quickly became Boeing's most ambitious project in decades, and also its most troubled. From the start, the Dreamliner was supposed to revolutionize air travel through its use of composite materials, lightweight construction, and fuel-efficient engines. But behind the marketing, chaos was brewing. Boeing outsourced more work than ever before, spreading production across dozens of countries, including a massive share to Japan's industrial partners. This global approach was meant to speed up development and cut costs, but instead it created a logistical nightmare. Parts arrived late, didn't fit properly, or had to be reworked in the U.S. final assembly in Everett and Charleston turned into a patchwork operation, with entire fuselage sections needing last-minute fixes. While ANA and JAL patiently waited, the delays kept coming. What began as a one-year setback turned into 3, then 4. Boeing engineers were forced to prioritize which versions of the 787 to save first. The -8 variant, with its long-range appeal for international routes, took the lead. The -9 soon followed as Boeing saw stronger global demand, and then came the quiet decision. The 787-3 would be postponed indefinitely. For Japan, that word, indefinitely, was devastating. ANA and JAL had structured their entire domestic fleet renewal plans around the 787-3. It was designed to fit into their existing gates at Haneda and Itami airports, offering the capacity of a wide-body with the economics of a narrow-body. The cancellation wasn't just a lost product, it was a broken promise. Behind closed doors, executives in Tokyo felt humiliated. After decades of loyalty and billions in parts manufacturing, Japan's airlines were suddenly treated as secondary. Boeing reassured them with deliveries of 787-8s instead, but these aircraft weren't ideal for Japan's dense, short-haul routes. For the first time in history, whispers began to circulate in the Japanese aviation community. Whispers that maybe Airbus, the once unthinkable alternative, could finally have a chance. As Boeing struggled to keep the Dreamliner alive, Airbus watched from the sidelines, patient, strategic, and fully aware of Japan's deep disappointment. For decades, Airbus had tried and failed to break into Japan's aviation market. ANA and JAL were loyal to Boeing almost to the point of nationalism. Every new model, from the 727 to the 777, had found a home in Japan's skies. But the collapse of the 787-3 project changed everything. When Boeing officially confirmed the cancellation, Airbus executives saw an opening that they had been waiting for since the 1970s. They knew Japan's domestic routes required reliability, short turnaround times, and the right balance between size and efficiency. all areas where Airbus's A300 and later the A330 families had quietly built strong reputations around the world. But now, a new aircraft was on the horizon that fit Japan's needs almost perfectly, the Airbus A350. The A350 wasn't a direct replacement for the short-haul 787-3, but it symbolized everything Japan wanted: cutting-edge efficiency, composite construction, and European precision. Most importantly, Airbus was offering something Boeing no longer could: commitment. The European manufacturer began actively courting Japanese airlines, attending Tokyo Aviation Expos, and highlighting its reliability record. Boeing's dominance in Japan began to show cracks. ANA, once the most loyal Dreamliner customer, quietly expanded discussions with Airbus. JAL, after years of avoiding any European-made aircraft, began considering options for future wide-body replacements. The trust that Boeing had built over half a century was now being questioned, not because of one bad plane, but because of broken expectations. Inside Boeing, executives were alarmed. They had invested enormous faith in the global supply chain, including Japan, and now they were risking losing one of their closest allies. Boeing tried to mend relations by emphasizing its continued partnership with Japanese manufacturers, especially in building major 787 components. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries was still producing a large part of the composite wings, one of the most advanced pieces of aerospace engineering in the world. But to the airlines, this wasn't enough. ANA and JAL had to make strategic decisions for the next 2 decades, and they could no longer rely on promises alone. As Airbus expanded its presence, the A350-900 and A350-1000 started to look increasingly attractive as replacements for aging Boeing 777s and 767s. By the mid-2000s, the shift was undeniable. Japan Airlines placed its first-ever order for the Airbus A350, marking a historic moment, the beginning of Airbus's true breakthrough into Japan. Boeing's fortress had finally been breached, and ironically, it was the failure of the 787-3, a plane designed to strengthen Boeing's hold on Japan, that had made it possible. The story of the 787-3 wasn't just about a canceled jet. It was about trust, strategy, and the fragile balance of global partnerships. After the 787-3 cancellation and Airbus's historic breakthrough, Boeing knew it had to act fast. Japan was too important to lose, not just as a customer, but as a cornerstone of its global supply chain. The country accounted for nearly 35% of the 787's production value, with Japanese firms building critical components such as the center wing box, fuselage sections, and landing gear doors. Losing Japan's confidence could ripple through the entire Dreamliner program, so Boeing launched a quiet but determined campaign to rebuild the relationship. Executives made repeated visits to Tokyo, assuring ANA and JAL that Boeing's long-term commitment to Japan was stronger than ever. They emphasized cooperation, not just in aircraft sales, but in technology transfer and joint research. Boeing also invested in new training programs, simulation centers, and maintenance partnerships within Japan, small gestures meant to show respect and continuity. ANA, to its credit, remained somewhat loyal. The airline doubled down on the 787-8 and -9 models, eventually operating more Dreamliners than any other carrier in the world. But the dynamic had changed. Where once Boeing dictated the market, now Japanese airlines negotiated with leverage. JAL's switch to the A350 was a symbolic blow, a reminder that trust once lost cannot easily be restored. Behind the scenes, Boeing also began working closely with Japanese suppliers to support future programs, including the 777X. Japan's aerospace industry still played a vital role, and Boeing leaned heavily on that partnership to ensure stability. Yet the emotional bond that had defined the relationship since the post-war era was weakened. What had once been described as a family now felt more like a pragmatic business arrangement. In hindsight, Boeing's decision to cancel the 787-3 made economic sense. The model's limited appeal outside Japan didn't justify the engineering cost, but strategically, it was one of the company's most expensive mistakes. Airbus had finally secured a foothold in a market once considered impenetrable, and Boeing had to spend years repairing what one quiet cancellation had broken. The Dreamliner still succeeded globally, but in Japan, its most loyal market, Boeing learned a hard truth. Even a dream can leave scars when trust is betrayed. Today, few passengers in Japan even remember the 787-3, but inside Boeing's history, its absence speaks louder than its existence. The aircraft was supposed to symbolize unity between the US and Japan, a testament to decades of collaboration. Instead, it became a quiet reminder of how fragile trust can be in the world of aviation. ANA and JAL moved on, integrating the 787-8 and 787-9 into their fleets, while Airbus slowly built its presence through the A350. The balance that had once seemed eternal, Boeing's dominance and Japan's loyalty, was replaced by competition. Ironically, the Dreamliner still fulfilled part of its promise. It transformed aviation efficiency, but the variant built for Japan, the 787-3, never took flight beyond prototypes. For Boeing, the lesson was painful but clear. Innovation must always walk hand in hand with commitment. Losing a market like Japan wasn't about missing a sale, it was about losing trust that took generations to earn. If you found this story of aviation strategy and broken promises as fascinating as we did, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us, do you think Boeing can ever rebuild that same bond with Japan again?